I swear everybody except Kevin makes the mom's life harder in Home Alone. Kevin is the most mature man in this whole movie. Okay, there's a lot. This is part 2 of my Home Alone thing. Part 1 was about basically Kevin being on a fast track to becoming a king baby, and leaving him home alone for a couple days actually is probably what saved him from being an entitled parasite like all the other men in this movie. I mean, this isn't like even an extreme example. The dad isn't that bad, but like all the men just make this woman's life harder. None of them make her life easier. Here's a lot of things that I find really interesting about this movie. For starters, besides being overworked and having to take care of everything, Mom is also the cop. She's the one who has to punish Kevin. She's the one who has to look like the bad guy. Even when, like, Frank, he sucks. Look what you did, you little jerk. And all the other men just sit by and judge him. But the mom is the one who has to implement the punishment, of course. Because that's what moms oftentimes have to do in families where the fathers aren't doing enough. Dads get to be fun, and moms have to be the enforcer of rule. And honestly, I don't really blame Kevin. Look at all of his brothers just suck. When he finally was like, shut up. Now dad comes in and he's like, upstairs. See, dads like this, they will just stand back and let mom just yell and yell and yell and redirect and do all the emotional labor. And then finally, when they're sick of it, they're like, hey. It's like, bro, why did you step in earlier? So then mom has to drag him upstairs. And on her way up there, she passes by this random cop who's just hanging out in her house. Which someone said in my comments, this is such a perfect example of like rich white people, or just white people privilege in general. But especially, these people are so rich. She's like, yeah, there's a cop hanging out here. I'm not worried. This pizza guy and this cop, I mean, look at this cop. He's walking around her house and she's like, la la la. The only person who seems to be suspicious of this cop is Kevin. Which again, Kevin is like the most mature man in this whole movie. So again, mom has to be the bad cop. And he's like, get upstairs. And he's like, I'm upstairs, dummy. He would never talk to his father that way. Again, I have a real problem with the way he is talking to her. And as someone mentioned in one of my comments on the other platform, a lot of times children will talk to their parents the way dad talks to mom. And we see this a lot with girls too. When dads love to make fun of mom with their daughters. I need to make a whole video on that. That's how, like, and then, you know, a lot of times their sons will show the same disrespect towards their own mothers that their dads show them. Why would they not? So the fact that he's calling his mom a dummy, and I know that she's being very firm with him, but like, where's he learning this from? Dad? I'm also fascinated by how big this house is. You know, when I grew up, what is this? This is the 90s? I remember thinking like, is this like a normal house? Because they play it off like this is like a normal house. This is literally a mansion, y'all. There's 15 people staying in this house and everyone has a bed. I mean, some are sharing beds, but what? I can't figure out how many bedrooms are in this house. But this is the attic. This. So also, like, again, Frank, he is no help. He's like, we're never gonna make this fly. Yeah, thanks, bro. You're like literally doing nothing but being a Debbie Downer. I'm sorry. I need to stop saying that. A Derek Downer. Because men are the killjoys in most situations. They're the ones who can literally be at Disney World and be like, like, grow up. So this is also a little bit bizarre. You know how I told you that they parentify the sisters, right? The oldest daughter and probably the niece is probably back there. It is a little bizarre that the parents are in first class and there are, 10 children or more in the back without an adult. Who's taking care of those kids? Because there's some young kids back there. Like Macaulay Culkin's brother, right? The cousin. That kid's young. He's back there. Who's watching him? I promise you, it's the girls. I promise you, Buzz is not taking care of those kids. She was like, it feels kind of weird being up here with the kids are in, coach. Like, nah, the kids are fine. They're okay. They're having the times of their lives. Who's watching these kids? Who? Also, the fact that they can afford to take this trip at all blows my mind. Like, I live in France and I haven't been home in 3 years because it is so expensive to fly across the country with just me and my husband. There's 15 of them going. I can't even wrap my head around how expensive this trip is. Then again, I realize that money is no object for these people because when they're at the airport trying to find a way to get mom home because he doesn't seem to care. He wants to go hang out at the sweet apartment with the view of the Eiffel Tower. Like that apartment, like this family is so loaded, y'all. He asked the flight attendant lady, what about a private plane? A private plane back to Chicago from Paris. Like, he's like, can't we just get a private plane? Like, these people are so loaded. It's weird how, like, they don't really acknowledge that. It's like, this is like an upper middle class family. So remember when she was all like, there's something wrong, you know? She's got this intuitive feeling there's something wrong. And he's all like, we took care of everything. Believe me, okay? We did. And she's like, no, it's just, like, what else could we be forgetting? And then, of course, she remembers. And then they all try to console her. Notice the people doing the emotional labor. The person doing the emotional, her. Like, we'll call it Switzerland. This guy's just staring in judgment. Horrible. Horrible. You are no help, dude. She's like, how could I do this? How could we do this? We forgot him. And look, the dad's like, he doesn't seem to feel that bad. He's like, we didn't really forget him. We just kind of miscounted. No, you literally forgot. And like this right here, mom guilt, man. This woman will probably never forgive herself. Although they had like Home Alone Part 2. Apparently there's like a 3 and 4 too. How many times can you forget your child? Now I am starting to judge you as a mother. But only because you're probably overburdened by too much because your husband doesn't do crap. And then this guy's like, well, I forgot my glasses once. You're so worthless, dude. So while she's making all these panicked phone calls, who's taking care of all this stuff? Look. The women, the daughters. What's Frank doing? He's just watching. Frank has done nothing to help anybody. In fact, when they're at this apartment, which again, this is probably like a millions of dollars apartment. Apartments in Paris are like even smaller than New York, I would argue. A lot of them at least. He's like, look what I found in the kitchen. And he comes and he's starting to serve shrimp. And this woman is like, those are for later, dude. Classic. The other people who are worthless are the police. Shocker. A-cab. This woman's like, yeah, let me connect you to this other dude. This dude's like, what? You want me to do something? She's like, yes. Not my problem. So he connects her back to the police lady. Look, he calls her hyper on 2. These people are making fun of her, a woman, calling her crazy, basically. Like, misogyny is so ingrained in our culture that, like, I didn't even bat an eye when I saw this. So the police lady sends a policeman over, and he's just like, oh, dumb parent. Maybe she should count better. Now mom is like determined to see her child. And he's like, there's nothing else we can do. Bro, yes there is. He's like, let's just go home to the apartment. Let's go, come on. It's cool. And she's like, are you insane? I'm not leaving here. Honestly, if I were her, I'd be concerned at how not concerned my husband was. Meanwhile, Kevin is out there taking care of himself, learning how to do laundry, cook his own food, go grocery shop. But when he goes to get some groceries, he sees the scary old man neighbor and he runs away. And the lady, classic white lady behavior, the guy that's tap sends a white person to go do her violence for her. And then he sends another white person to go do some violence, right? A child didn't pay. There's a whole neighborhood that is getting actively robbed right now. Look, when they catch the thieves, the police even say, you know, we've been looking for you two guys for a long time. So these guys have been robbing houses for a while. But this guy is chasing kids through parks for not paying for something stupid. But if Kevin was not white, that kid would probably be dead. So, you know, this movie is a little accurate in its depiction of some people. Another worthless man in this movie, this old man. Like, I love this old lady. I miss her from like 80s movies. And she really wanted to help this mom out. She's like, please. And he's like, she's already got earrings. And this woman has to beg her husband to let her help this mother. I swear all the men in this film stand in the way of women getting things done. Like even John Candy's character, who does end up helping her out, is so annoying. She's in the back of this U-Haul with this whole band. He's like, you want to play my instrument? She's like, no. And he's like, try it. She's like, no. He's like, okay. Look at her face. Later on, she's like, I feel like such a bad parent. He's like, no, this stuff happens. If you think you're bad parents, look at us. We're gone almost the whole year. We never see our families. You're good. Joe forgets his kids' names. Ziggy's never met his. And we hope Eddie's kids never write a book about him. Like, Eddie, what are you doing? Like, and I left mine at a funeral home all day. She's like, really? Yeah, he was alone with a corpse all day. He's okay. He started talking again. Kids are resilient. He's like, can you please shut up? Like, well, you brought it up. Like, yeah, I know. I'm sorry I did. Maybe this movie should be called Needy Men Who Exhaust Women and Stand in Their Way. When Dad finally shows up, he shames her for not waiting for that flight. And then when Kevin talks about having gone to the store to get milk, Dad's like, what a funny guy. I'd never do that.